Welcome back to the show. My next guest is Kat Jane Shepherd, who's over in Perth. That's in Australia. Kat, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to be here and being interviewed.
Would you like to tell people who might be watching from overseas a little bit about Perth? Because it's probably not the most well-known city in Australia.
Yeah, sure thing. So it's quite small, I guess, and it's very chill and very calm, and we've got a lot of coast, so lots of things we do are surrounded by the water, and yeah, it's lovely here, and if you can, come travel here and say hi.
What if someone was traveling to Perth, let's say from overseas? I mean, I've been to Perth a couple of times now from Sydney, and I do love it. It's very laid back, and us Aussies already have, that reputation for being laid back. But what are the things that tourists must see in Perth?
Must see. Well, definitely go to the coast. So there's this great cafe at Trig, and if you just walk along the coast, that's lovely. For sure, Fremantle. It's got some lovely buildings, and even check out the universities that have been around for a while. So the university I
Oh,
study at, the University of Western Australia, it's a really beautiful campus. Mm.
is it Hillary's Boat Harbour? Is that a
Yeah, so
place?
Hillary's, yeah, for sure. So Hillary's boat harbour's there, and then the coast just runs along the strip. So you can walk from Hillary's to Trig and then Scarborough and all different places, and you'll just get a lovely
Right.
view of Rottnest. So as well, if you
Yep.
can, jump over to Rottnest, and that's a lovely little island.
Okay, because I did go to Hillary's and I remember finding that really, really a nice, relaxing place. But Kat, why don't we start with the easy question? Why don't you tell people how you got into the crazy world of pageantry to begin with?
Yeah, so pageantry, I'm quite new to, so I've been excited hearing all about it and learning more. But I came from a background of modelling and acting, and I just saw that with the platform, you can use your voice to help different things that you're trying to do and just network with other like-minded women. So I love being in communities full of women that want to empower other people. And then I just got drawn to pageantry, applied, and then I was lucky enough to, yeah, get selected.
Yeah, it's pageantry is not very well known in Australia, is it? It's something you have to kind of stumble across, usually on social media. Is that where you found out about it, or did you do
Yeah,
a Google search for it? You did
for
it on
sure. So
you
I
you found it on
started
social.
Yeah, I started seeing people pop up, and I was like, oh, I've followed along Miss Universe forever, just
Mhm.
because with acting, there's been lots of actors that have been in Miss World and Miss Universe. But then I
Okay.
deep dived and realized there's so many more pageants around the world with so many different, yeah, countries and people involved. So I've just kind of done a deep dive and learnt more about it all.
So let's dig into the acting because, as you mentioned, there's quite a few well-known actors and actresses, well, actresses that I'm thinking of who got their start or had a sort of a big boost in pageantry. I mean, the one that comes immediately to mind is Wonder Woman, so Gal Gadot or Gal Gadot.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, are there was there anyone in particular that you saw in the acting industry and you saw that, oh wow, they got their start in pageantry?
Yeah, for sure. So even Michelle Pfeiffer, she did a small pageant, but she did that.
Oh wow.
Also Halle Berry did one of the
Yep.
pageants. I think there's also a woman that won Miss World from India prior.
Oh,
She's married.
Aishwarya
Yeah,
Rai,
she's
I
married
think.
to a Jonas brother. She's amazing.
Oh, is she?
So yeah,
I,
yeah,
I didn't know the Jonas brother thing, but it's funny that you mentioned Michelle Pfeiffer and Halle Berry because that's two Catwomen, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's kind of cool.
They
So
all
will
went
we
on
be
to be
seeing
superheroes.
now? I know that you like cosplay, so will we be seeing you in a Catwoman outfit anytime soon?
I would love to do Catwoman. I just have to make sure, yeah, some people get in line. I like doing group ones, so I'll see if I can get
Right.
a Poison Ivy and other people to join.
Okay. Now we got a bunch of people tuned in. Guys, if you're watching, do put your questions in the comments. So Lottie, I can see your question there and I'll circle around to it in a minute. But I just want to dig into the acting, as I said. So Kat, you are, let's say, a working actor. And I say that because, or working actress, I say that because a lot of girls say they want to be an actress, but I know that you've already filmed. I don't know if it's in post production or where, but you've already been in a film. So why don't you clue us in? How did you get into acting to begin with?
Yeah, for sure. So I studied straight out of school. I did a little bit at school, but it was all musical theatre, and I was much more into theatre and Oscar Wilde and more plays that didn't have song and dance because I can't really
Yeah.
dance or sing that good. But then, so I left school and I actually went into costume at WAAPA. But while at WAAPA, I was able to be surrounded by amazing actors and kind of learn a little bit more about that art. And I went to a class, just a studio here in Perth, AMA, and yeah, just learnt a little bit more. And then I went for my first, I got an ad straight up, and then I went for my first audition. I was just lucky enough to get picked.
Do you have any idea why you got picked? I mean, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I know a lot of people, and Perth, for those watching who don't know, Perth is not the biggest city. And so a lot of the markets and a lot of the industries, let's say, have less opportunity than maybe a major city. Do you have any idea why you got picked? Was there something about you that immediately stood out?
Well, with the process, what you actually do is you send a headshot, your resume. So I didn't have much on my resume, but you send that and you just send a little brief bio to usually the director or producer or whoever is doing casting. It could be the casting director. It's better if you have an agent. I didn't at the time,
Hmm.
but to get an agent, you need things. So it's kind of a catch 22 there. But
Yeah,
yeah, so I you send that in and then they send material back to do a self-tape audition now. Lots of things and auditions are at home. So I ended up filming about 6 scenes and then you send it back to the director. It's usually a quick turnaround, so you don't get
right.
much time. You have to learn these lines off by heart. I'd had background at my school I went to, had been really good with public speaking and
Hmm.
making us do a lot of speeches, even though I didn't like it in high school. But I realize now, oh, it helped me a lot to. I learnt my speeches. Like if I had to do a 5 minute speech, I would learn it word for
You
word.
memorize the whole thing.
Yeah, so that actually has helped my acting, funnily enough. But yeah, so I don't know, they must have seen potential in me. But with acting, you can audition for some role and then end up getting put in another one within the film. And
I've
that's
heard
kind of
about
what
that.
happened
Yeah.
with me. Yeah, so I got then picked to be uh, the backpacking kind of British girlfriend in the film. So one of the main casts, but yeah.
Right. I'm going to get you to tell the people watching more about the film because I think that's important, but also to what you just mentioned about people, auditioning for one role and then getting another. The one that really sticks out, I'm sure you've heard about this one, is the guy that played Loki. I can't remember his name. What's the guy's
Yeah.
name that played Loki?
Oh,
What is,
Tom Hiddleston.
that's right. And he had
Yeah.
originally auditioned for Thor. And that's,
Mhm.
and looking back at it now, it's really funny. But tell people more about the film that you were starring in because that's exciting.
Mm. Sure. So it's called Remotely Famous. It's an indie Australian feature film and it's directed by Brad Newland. And I just had a wonderful cast and crew. And yeah, it turns out that the man within the film, one of the men actors, he was an owner of a casting agency
Mhm.
and Beach, so his partner. And they just said, "Oh, you haven't been signed yet. We'd love to have you." And I was just really happy to
Oh,
be a part of Padua. Yeah.
that works really well. When will the movie be out? Where can people watch it? And can you give us any spoiler free information about it?
Yeah, for sure. So the movie should be coming out later this year or early next year. I'm not too sure with the timeline,
Okay.
just with all the post-production things that I'm not
Yeah.
really involved in. But yeah, and it should premiere and then it's still in discussion with distribution. So that's a huge part
Okay.
too. It's trying to
Yeah.
figure out where it should go. But yeah, so that's been good.
Can you give us any spoiler free plot information?
For sure, for sure. So the plot follows two women that are best friends and they end up going on a road trip, but they end up getting lost. One of the girls, her older brother, is an adventurer, so she gets inspired by him and goes off. But yeah, it's kind of a story of adventure, friendship. It's very female empowering, and
Hmm.
I'm going along with the brother to try and find his sister. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Is it set in WA or just like a fictional? It's set in WA. That's one
Well,
place I would
it's
not
set,
want to get
yeah.
lost.
yeah, so it's set. We filmed some in Broome, which was amazing to fly there for some filming. So it's around that area and like the Gibson River Road and like that kind of place in Broome. So that was amazing. And
Right.
then with film, you kind of film in all bush types and then string it together so it looks similar. So it was a lot of different places. We even travelled to Nelborough Station. So, and a little
Oh
bit was
wow.
filmed in Perth.
Yeah. Okay. That's one state I definitely would not want to get lost in is in the middle of Perth. Because again, if you're not watching, there's a lot of nothing in the middle of Perth except maybe mining and sand. So as I said, Lottie, I don't know if you know Lottie. Lottie has a question here. I don't know if you can see that, Kat, but she's asked, "What is your favorite thing that you have done, and why?" That's a pretty big question. That's anything. So, what's the favorite thing that you have done?
Favorite thing that I've done. Should I relate it to pageants or
You,
something, or should
no,
just
it doesn't
anything?
have to be whatever. It could be
Mm.
something you've eaten that you really enjoyed.
The favorite thing I've done. I love to travel, and recently I went to Japan with my boyfriend and his family and my family, and that was just amazing. And I really love the culture there. Yeah. Thanks,
Right.
Lottie.
Okay. When did you go over to Japan, and how long did you go over for?
Yeah, so we went like February, I think. Well, they've been going since they were little, but my family had never really been. And this was the second time we went. So yeah, we
Right.
went all around Tokyo, and then we stayed in Furano, which is a little ski town, and yeah, it was just amazing.
Oh, okay. Because Japan is on one of the countries that I really want to visit because I'm fascinated by the people and the culture.
Mm.
My parents have been once or twice, and they came back with mochi, little. I think it was a little mochi, but it came in this like
Yeah.
bamboo box, and the bamboo box was handcrafted, and that's something that you just don't get in any other country. So I was
Mm.
fascinated by that. Now, you mentioned at the start that you got into pageantry because you saw some of the philanthropic work that the women were doing. What sort of causes or what causes are closest to your heart?
Yeah, for sure. So, with the Miss Australia pageants, I've been lucky enough with the National Breast Cancer Foundation that is quite close to heart. Growing up, I participated in the Pink Triathlon, and that's just a triathlon event to raise awareness and money for women living with breast cancer and those that have been affected. So, that's been huge in the lead up to this in October. Been running charity runs and raffles and just doing things to try and raise money for them. Another cause that is really close to heart is Variety, the children's charity, which
Mhm.
I've been lucky enough to be, yeah, helping out, volunteering my time. I've actually got an internship coming up, which I'm so
Oh, wow.
lucky to have gotten. So I'm really excited about that. Should be happening around November. And yeah, just to go help out with them. Mm.
Do you know what you're gonna be doing as part of that internship? That's exciting.
Yeah, so since my master's degree at UWA is strategic communication, they're bringing me on as a media helper to the wonderful women
Oh,
there
cool.
already.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we've talked about a lot of different things already. We're like 13 minutes in, and we talked about acting, you talked about running, and then we're talking about this philanthropic work, and then you mentioned your degree, which doesn't seem to have anything to do with what we've already discussed. Um, what's going on here? So how many different things are going on, and how do you manage your time when there's so many seemingly discordant things going on?
Yeah, for sure. I've been lucky enough recently that it's all slowly coming together, it feels like. Even with
Cool.
pageantry in particular, it's shown me that you can do all your glam things and stuff, but you can also have your causes. And then you have to use strategic communication within pageantry and acting and everything you do. So that's really helping me. So it's all coming together. Scheduling is definitely a thing. I have a full diary, but I kind of work by the minute. But I like being busy.
By the
I'm a bit of a
minute.
workaholic. Yeah.
By the, here's an interesting question. How do you organize your time? Are you old school, like pen and paper, or are you new school with apps and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I tried to be new school, but I'm quite bad with tech. So I'm very much pen and paper, and I will write lists every day for the checklist of the day. And some days you don't get to cross everything off, but I don't really mind. It's like you just move that to the next day and hope you get it done within the week.
Right. I was betting for some reason that you would be more old school. Do you ever have that problem where that thing on your to-do list that you didn't cross off gets put on to the next day, the next day, the next day? And
Oh,
then a
yeah.
month later, 2 months later, at the end of the year, it's still that thing that's been moved 365 times, or is that just me?
No, that's for sure definitely a thing. It's more with the type of work I do, you do have deadlines and you could be on set in
Right.
2 days or something, or you could have a meeting with the director and you don't want to be unprepared for those things. So those things tend to be pretty strict, but if it's something
Yeah.
that is an overarching plan or a goal, then yes, I can just kind of do it by the month and say, I'd like this to happen this month, but if it doesn't, it can happen here.
Right.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. If you're working with other people, then timelines are a lot more important. Tell me, what is it like working on a film? Like, give us an insight into what it's like. What's the process? So you already said you do the self audition tapes. You can do that at home. I guess you got to learn some lines, practice them. But from that point on to when you're on set filming, what's the actual process?
Yeah, for sure. So every director's different and every project's different, which is why
Right.
the arts is quite interesting. It'll never be the same. But usually what you'll do, so you can either, I've done in-person auditions too for a little TV
Hmm.
web series I've been on. But really what happens is it depends if your director wants to do table reads or rehearsals beforehand. Depending
Okay.
on the content or the action of the scene, you'll also have to do blocking. So you don't really want to get to location if you want to use the sunlight, say it's like a 6 a.m. shoot,
Right.
and you're
Right.
like,
Right.
oh, I don't know where I should stand or where the camera's going to go. So there's lots of pre-work. But it really depends, yeah, what type of set you're on. Whereas other sets that are big and you're not the main lead, or you just get there at this time, they tell you what to do and they shuffle you around. So yeah, it
Right.
depends. But then yeah, once you're on set, so say the night before, if you're on location, the night before they'll do a run through of what we're filming the next day, try and pick out the scenes that we might have missed. Then
Yep.
you'll get a schedule and you'll have a time call. So you'll have to have your, depending on the budget and whether or not they have a makeup and hair team or a costume team, you'd have to go and get your makeup, hair, and costume done all prior, or you're doing that yourself in your room.
Right.
And
Yep.
then you head out to set. It's whether or not it's walking distance or you get your team to drive. They sometimes have designated drivers called the assistant directors, and there can be quite a few of them. I've had both sides. So I've been a costume designer on set and I've been an actor on set, and that is very different roles. So costume
Mm.
designer, you're kind of there while the actors are there and long past the actors are there because you're prepping the
Yeah.
clothes, you're washing them, whereas the actor, it's been quite nice just getting on set and then leaving when you're done. But yeah.
Yeah, I was in a relationship with someone who was a costumier, and I can tell you it was thankless work. She ended up basically getting arthritis at under the age of 30 because she was having to. She worked on like Doctor Who. She was in Wales, and she was having to put like nails, trying to sew through leather and things like
Yeah.
that, and corsets, and it's not easy to do, and it's just like such tiring work, and it's probably not the best paid in the world compared to what the actor takes home. But how here's something I'm fascinated by as someone who has no acting chops whatsoever. So I imagine that you get a script and you read it and you see, okay, this is my character. What is the process for bringing that character to life? Because I hear so many actors. I'm fascinated by good actors, and you'll hear each one of them has a different process. One thing I know about, for example, method acting, that's probably the most well known, is basically, I guess, you just become that character, and there's stories, famous stories of people who just become that character for the entire shoot, even when they're not on set, they still stay in character. But what's your process for, not because it's not just memorizing lines, is it? Because that's
Yeah.
one part, of course. But what's your process? And I'm sure it's ongoing for bringing that character to life.
Mm. Well, it's definitely the same thing where each project's different, and I take a different approach to each project. So I'm quite new to this, so I am still learning all the different
Hmm.
techniques. But what I've learnt in classes as well is when you get your script, what I like to do, the first step is figure out my objective within the scene. So when you get a script, I like to break down my character, who I am, what's my past. I like to give myself quite a bit of a past, collaborate with your fellow actors if you want. Some people don't mind
Right.
doing that. They like coming to set with just their idea and then you work with it.
Okay.
Um, but I like having a backstory. I like knowing why I'm there, what my motive is, what my objective is. So I write down in kind of bold letters at the top of the scene what my objective of this scene is. So if you've got a scene with another person, let's say I really want to get out of this situation. It's like, I want to leave. So it's a very
Okay.
simple thing, but then everything you say during that time should be with that directive. So you're not changing, because most people in
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
life have an objective of what they want in a given situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do that. And then I break down from my lessons with Ali Roberts Studio, they've been so helpful, but you break down your thoughts. So what your character's thinking when the other person's saying something. So I just do a little line off and I say, and it can just be quick words like why, or like, what do you mean? And it can be like what you're trying to think while they're saying this. And then, depending on accent work, that's a whole nother thing. If your character has an accent or is from somewhere else, then
Yeah.
you start work on that as soon as possible with a
Yeah, because
coach.
I
Yeah.
imagine, yeah, you don't want to be thinking about that consciously when it comes time to speak your lines, because everything else is more important. And just to be clear, all that stuff that you mentioned, that's work that you put in, right? That's not in the script. So, for example, creating the character's backstory, you're not given that. Is that correct? You create that yourself?
Yeah, you can be. I mean, it's all dependent on the writer and also what the director wants. So
Yeah,
some directors are very much, this is what I want you to do, this is what her background is. They give you a lot of information, others won't. So I like to do my own, and then you run it past the director and be like, I think she's like this because of this. And someone will be like, great, or no, this is why. And so, yeah, it's a full collaboration process. And that's the same with costume. I mean, you want to be working with your costume designer quite a bit before too. And because it has an influence. People judge
yeah,
people
yeah.
on their costume. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the reasons that, well, I mean, fashion is a type of costume, and you do cosplay, so I don't need to understand that. That sort of, I think your favorite superhero Superman. I seem to remember seeing a post of you did a vintage, you did the Christopher Reeve, I think it was Superman. That's a very, it's more than the costume, isn't it? It's a symbol, even down
Yeah.
to that big S. Now we've got a bunch of questions here. We've got 4 questions, which I'll take you through. But just before I get to those, have you given any thought to what your ideal role when you become a Hollywood famous and you're putting your star on the Walk of Fame? What would be your perfect role? Because you mentioned Oscar Wilde. That's pretty far removed, let's say, from the Marvel or the DC comic universe. So is it comedy? Is it romance? Like what would be your perfect kind of role to land?
Yeah. So I like anything that fully transforms you with costume. So say Captain Jack Sparrow, Johnny Depp, or yeah, just anyone that really transforms Harley Quinn. So if I could play a really fun character or a different accent, I really love The Wolf of Wall Street, Margot Robbie did. So
Mm,
it's just loud, out there characters that yeah love to express themselves with outfits. That would be my I
right.
would love. Yeah.
I mean, Harley Quinn is slightly psychotic. Would you be okay embodying that? She's not exactly a normal person.
Yeah, I think I'd do that well.
Okay, that might be too much information, but I'll
Maybe,
let you
maybe not.
enjoy that when it comes around. Why don't we get to these questions? So, Kel has asked, "What is the best thing? What is the best thing that you have experienced during your preparation for the pageant?"
Yeah, thanks, Kel. I think my favorite thing and the best thing I've experienced is the connections with other women within the
Mhm.
pageants, particularly this Miss Australia pageants. They've been so welcoming and they've had a group chat, and even the girls are just commenting on everyone's social media.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel like a competition. It feels like we're there to support each other. So it's a lot less frightening to travel and meet them all because I know
yeah.
them and we've chatted. So that's what I've loved the most.
Yeah, I have noticed that it does stand out quite a lot that a lot of the girls are commenting and it's all very supportive, and a lot of the time it's so excited to meet you, which I got to say you don't always get in pageantry, often but not always. So I'd certainly take that when I can get it. John here has asked, what is the best piece of costuming work you've ever participated in?
Costuming work. That's interesting. I've got some really fun projects coming up, but I can't talk about them unfortunately. But
Got an
my
NDA happening
favorite,
there.
yeah, my favorite things I've done would have to be the fashion show in Sydney. I was asked to come and participate in with my wearable art pieces. So I love wearable art. Anything that's not really human form fitting, something that's really out of this world. That's what I love doing. Mm.
Okay, so as someone who has no artistic talent either, I have very few talents. When you say wearable art, what does that mean?
Yeah, so if you think about the Met Gala,
Yep.
and they're pieces that are really out there. So, say the sand dress that Tyler wore, or like the things Kim Kardashian wears, stuff that's just it looks like art, but you're the mannequin, really. So it
Right.
takes over a little bit. So I've had pieces that are like Marie Antoinette with splattered cake all over her, or I've done hot air balloons in the air. So it's making shapes
Oh.
and different objects.
Do I want to know how long it takes to make one single piece of art like that?
Yeah, it can take a while depending on what understructure is too. Because I know for
Yeah.
my Marie Antoinette piece, that was we learnt that at WAAPA, and it was a lot of hand sewing and different things. But it takes months.
Wow. Okay. I really hope you know exactly what you're going for before you start. You wouldn't want to be months in and then go, no, I got this wrong, or to lose your motivation. That would be a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Cam here has asked, well, he has said you sound so busy. I agree. When you get time off, where is your go-to place to escape and relax?
That's so funny. That's my boyfriend, Cal. So I'll say I like to relax with him when we go, and we're both runners. So I actually find exercise, which is funny, but I find running and the gym relaxing, if that's
Mm,
weird. I
no.
enjoy that, and I love to write as well. So if I have a movie, a cup of tea, and I'm writing, I'm happy.
Can I ask, is someone, again, I have no talent with running. I hate running. It's not nothing against exercise, but I just find running like really does my head in. My brain just can't deal with it. But do you prefer running outside, like on a track, or do you prefer running on a treadmill? Because I found those two to be completely different.
Yeah, no, treadmill is terrible. I hate treadmill running. You do
Okay,
it
thank
if you
you.
have to, but yeah, no, definitely
What
outside.
what is why does it feel so different? Like I can't when I the other thing is when I come off a treadmill or any of those sort of stationary things, I feel like I've gotten seasick because
Yeah.
your legs want to keep running, but you're standing still. What is it about treadmills that makes
Mm.
them so terrible?
Yeah, well, it changes your gait as well, so you're not controlling the movement. So it's
Right.
kind of controlling you, and also you don't have any movement around you, so you can be fixed on, say, a picture in front of you, and then you get dizzy.
Or a
So yeah,
screen.
I've gotten dizzy before too.
Yeah, I gotten dizzy and almost fallen off. There's a lot of
Yeah,
videos of people falling off treadmills, and it generally doesn't end well. I'm glad
yeah.
I'm not alone in that. I thought I was crazy. Lottie has asked another question. What does being a Miss Australia finalist mean to you?
Thanks, Lottie. Being a Miss Australia Pageants national finalist means so much. It means so much. I'm just so excited to be in a group full of women that really want to make a difference. It means that I get the chance to use the platform, even in the lead up, to promote the things that I'm passionate about, and they support you doing that. So, yeah, it means that you get to use your voice and express yourself to a larger audience, and that's just amazing.
Have you set yourself any goals when it comes to the pageant in terms of, performance? Because I mean, running, it's quite simple to understand. You probably want to come first. That's preferable to coming dead last. I have quite a lot of experience coming dead last at running, I will say.
So,
When it comes to I told you I hated running, and so one time I was in cross country, which was just because we had to do sport at school, and I didn't like any of the other sports. So if you were like that, you had to do cross country, and I think I should have done some of the other sports because cross country was the worst, and I just couldn't be bothered running, so I'd almost come last all the time. But running, competitive, you go for gold, so to speak. When it comes to the pageant, have you set yourself any goals?
Yeah, well, funnily enough, with running too, you get to the point where you really have to just focus on PBs as well, because there's so many good people, especially at the track. So really, for me, it's more about yeah, just trying to work on that. But for pageants, goals in terms of competition, my goal for this one in particular, because I'm so new to it, is just to network and learn more
Mhm,
and meet new people. I think with pageantry, you can set yourself up to be very disappointed. Like I've done bikini comps in the past too.
mhm.
It's judges. You have to realize that they're picking the right person for them that year at that particular
Yeah,
time. So if they see fit that I'm their person, then amazing. I'd be so happy.
yeah.
But if I'm not, then I still want to keep going with pageants because it's just helped me, even in this lead up and meeting new people and networking and learning way more and helping with important causes.
Do you remember how many girls are actually finalists at the Miss Australia pageants? I seem to remember 30 or something, or is that a different
Yeah,
pageant
usually
one?
it's like 32 to 35, so they have a little leadway. I think it's
Right,
more on the 35 end this time. Yeah, something
right.
like that.
But that's to give people watching, that's a lot, especially because it's only, when I say only, it's inverted commas, only one division, because sometimes pageants have similar numbers to that, but there's like a teen division, a Miss division, a
Oh, but
MS
they
division.
Yeah, they have. So there's actually three titles though within that. So
Mm,
Miss Global, Intercontinental, and Supranational. So I guess that makes sense in terms of they do
yeah.
have to pick three people from that.
Yeah, it's great that you have so many women going because otherwise there's not much energy when it comes to finals night if there's only two or three girls
Yeah.
preparing. Just final thing on the running. What distance are we talking about? Are we sprinting? Are we marathon running? Like what distance are you competing at?
Yeah, so I do the 400 and 800 meter at the
Okay.
track, usually on Friday nights at Strive. That season's starting soon. When you train, you do longer distance. So I'm with the Perth Distance Project group and PDP, and they're so good. And my coach makes me do more longer sessions. So when you're on your own, you might do like a 12K run just to keep your fitness and endurance up. Because with the 800 meter, it comes down to endurance, not just sprinting because the lactic catches you after that first lap even.
Yeah, I seem to remember someone commenting on running distances and saying that 400, I think it was 400 or 800, are like the most, I don't know if it's the most difficult or it's the most painful. Because I think the point was that marathon running, you're kind of jogging, you're not sprinting in a marathon. And a sprint is a sprint. If it's 100 meters, it's done in about 10 seconds. But I think
Mm.
the point was that 400 and 800 goes long enough that all that pain can happen, but it's short enough that you kind of have to sprint. Does that sound remotely accurate?
Yeah, well, it's funny though because I have my friends race the 10K and all that's grueling. Like their feet are chewed up, and I've done a 10K race and I've never felt worse in my life. So I'm like, I think
Good.
I think the longer distance actually is way worse. But with the 400, what you get is a very quick pain. So within the last 100
Right.
meters,
Good.
if you've gone out too hard, you'll hit quicksand and you'll feel like you're running like this, like you're just clawing to the end. And that's lactic and that's brutal. So it's a different pain, I guess.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
chewing up your feet's probably not a good idea before you go to pageants because pageants will do that for you. So you don't need any help chewing up your feet. How do you pace yourself in a run like that? Because a 400, how long is a 400-meter taking roughly?
Well, for me, it takes about a minute oh two. So yeah, a minute. Whereas other girls can get in like the kind of 50s and stuff. So it depends, like seconds. So it really depends how quick you are and how much you've worked on it. But yeah, about 102 for me is my PB. So really, you kind of want to. What they say is you want to take off hard at the block. So we have block start.
Yeah.
You want to take off
Yeah.
hard for that first 100 meters. So you're mentally like getting into it. Then they say you want to float the back, which you're not really. You're just trying to get into the motion of that speed you want to keep
Right.
up, and then you're trying to bring it home on the last 200 meters and just hang on for the
Right.
last 100.
Right. I think I'd just be trying to hang on for the entirety of the race, hoping for it to be over soon. Did you ever
Yeah.
try any of the other events like, I don't know, hurdling, discus, javelin, high jump, long? You're quite tall, so I got to imagine like a long jump or high jump could have worked. Did you ever try any of those other events?
Yeah, so I grew up doing little athletics, so we did everything.
Mm.
So I'm very much a galloper though in hurdles, so I like just do a little gallop over it. I'm not very quick because I'm nervous of hurting myself, but I did do that. I
Right.
did lots of 1500s, lots of I've never tried steeple race. I've done discus, shot put, javelin. I'm terrible at throws because my arms they've got no strength to throw things.
Right.
Um, but I competed in long jump at uni games and I liked
Yeah.
long jump, but I ended up getting stress fractures in my shins just from the landing. I don't think I had very good technique overly, um, but I loved it. But yeah, I want to just focus on running now and sprinting. Yeah.
You got stress fractures in your shins from long jump, but aren't you landing in a pit of sand?
Yeah, but it's still a harsh. Well, it was a plethora of things that happened, and the reason why I got stress fractures, I was doing like bikini comps at the time, so you're cutting your food, you're running. I was doing soccer, I was doing frisbee. It was like I was doing too much, and it was overloading, really. But the impact of
Okay.
doing states, because you have to do like 6 jumps, whereas usually in training you do like
Right.
3 or something. That was a
Yeah.
bit too much, and it just went, ugh. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this whole workaholic thing that you've got going on, that's been going on for a while. This is not a recent part of your personality then, by the sounds of it.
No, not really.
Oh, no. Did you learn anything from it, Kat? Getting stress fractures?
I do. I try and learn each time, not to overdo it. I've had lots of injuries in the past. I've even got a bit of an ITB issue right now, from doing a little bit too much. So yeah,
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 23.
How many injuries have you had so far?
Oh, it'd be at least like 5 or 6. I tore my ligament in netball. That was gnarly. That was a popping sound, and I knew
Gnarly.
something was
Oh,
wrong.
no.
Yeah, that was gnarly. That was not fun.
I worked at an all girls high school coaching tennis, and I have to say, the two sports that seem to cause the most knee injuries, I don't know about other injuries, netball and soccer.
Oh yeah.
Those two. Everyone who had played either of those sports, or God forbid both, for any period of time, you could spot them because they're all the ones wearing the knee braces.
Yeah. Yep, yep. For sure, for sure. I didn't have knee issues with netball, weirdly. My ankles were not great with the, yeah, quick movement because I was often center and stuff. So, but yeah. And soccer, yeah, soccer was hurt a little bit with my knees, so I gave that up.
Okay, so we're just praying that you get to Miss Australia without incurring any more
Yeah.
injuries. So maybe ease off a little bit,
Yep.
just a tiny
I'll
bit.
chill out. I'll chill
Yeah,
out for a
I'll
second.
I think I'll believe that when I see it. Now, bringing it back to your degree, we've covered a lot. I'm sure there's still a lot more to go, but strategic communication is an interesting one. Do you want to define what strategic communication actually is?
Yeah, so strategic communication, if you just look at it or what it means, it's kind of communicating in the best way possible and planning. So you have every company will have a strategic communicator. So that's the person that will come in and sometimes deal with the problem, but they also have to foresee the problem. It's what you say, like PRs. It could be you could go into so many different avenues with this. Everyone in the class, lots of them are international students and all from different backgrounds. Some are already working, some are not. Some want to go into fashion journalism, which is me too. Some want to go into advertising. I like advertising too. So it depends what you want to do. And inside strategic communication, you can also be more the creative, or you can be the strategic planner, the more the
Mm.
numbers person. So it really depends what you're passionate about.
So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds more like a skill you're learning, and then that skill could be used in a lot of different industries.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I chose this degree in particular, because I knew it helps with every single thing I do. Especially
Right.
I'm starting because I'm my own business. I'm a freelance hire for costume, and I'm also studying to be a PT. So all these things to start up your business and promote yourself and learn strategies. It's also dissecting what advertisements went well and where companies went
Mm.
wrong, and what are some advertisements were tone deaf, and what we could do to prevent massive problems happening within a company. So yeah.
that industry definitely could deal with some strategic thinking people, because sometimes they spend millions of dollars on advertising campaigns and they flop, and everyone's looking at them going, "Of course it flopped. Are you crazy?"
Yeah.
You just mentioned that you're studying to be a PT, which you hadn't actually mentioned before, Kat. Is there anything else that you want to just casually mention that you're studying or you do 40 hours a week that you've forgotten? Because I'm losing track now.
No, I think I'm good. I think I'll stop there. I think I'll stop there.
You'll stop, or have, is that everything? I mean, those two aren't the same thing. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you just casually do on the side?
No, I think that's everything. I think that's everything. I've done a little bit of writing. I love to write, and I'm like an online author, but like that's more just fun. That's just fun.
Just casually an author on the side. Here I am. I'm like an author, a best-selling author. Yeah, I just casually do that on the side.
No,
It's
but
all
you
good.
like best like I'm on Wattpad. Like it's very different. Like I just enjoy it for the comments, but I'm not published or anything.
If I give you, let you in on a secret, I didn't actually write my best selling. Oh no, yeah, I didn't write my best selling book. I interviewed people and turned it into a book. So I didn't really write. I mean, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and one of the things that the psychiatrist, bless him, said, "If you've written a book, you can't possibly have ADHD." I'm like, I didn't actually write it, but he wasn't willing to listen to me. Okay, so big question then I have to ask, and I'm sure you've considered this. You have so many different facets to what you're doing. I like to think of it people as being like a bicycle wheel, and you have a wheel, you have different spokes. You're like one of those bicycle wheels that has 100 spokes, because I'm sure there's other things that you do that you just haven't mentioned, and so you're not telling us all the other things. But where do you see yourself? I don't know, let's go for 2 years time. So you'd be
Mm.
mid 20s, 25. Where do you see yourself, given everything that you've mentioned you're currently doing?
Yeah, sure. So I'd like to see myself still working in the film and television industry as a costumer and actor, hopefully with a few more bigger projects. And also, I'd still like to be in pageantry, so using that platform to promote certain causes that I'm passionate about. So, particularly within the costume industry, I'm very passionate about sustainable fashion. So, using the platforms to promote that in particular. Yeah.
Can I just ask you about sustainable fashion? Because I'm sure that you'll know this better than me. What are some of the issues in the fashion industry surrounding sustainability? I know I've spoken to a few girls competing in Miss Earth, for example, and I've heard a lot of statistics about textile waste, jeans in particular, taking up a lot of landfill. And there's all these issues with things in the oceans. I know microplastics is a huge thing. They talk about forever chemicals now. What are some of the issues? Because you work in the fashion industry. Well, you work as a costumier, which is related to the fashion industry, and so you can see the good that it does, obviously, the creativity. And I'm sure you've seen some of the negatives environmentally as well. So, what are some of the issues that you've come across in the fashion industry?
Yeah, well, because it's so large scale, one of the major ones is fast fashion. So
Hmm.
trying to stop that, making sure that we're seeing the full life cycle of the garment being used properly and not just thrown out. Jeans is huge, so landfill. Uh, just taking up space on the earth, hurting nature, and the toxic chemicals and microplastics, people that you don't even know, like even just washing your clothes is damaging to the environment if you do it too often.
Right.
Um, yeah, so there's so many different aspects that people don't even think about. So it's educating myself on that. I've done a certificate recently from Redress, which was a full educational online training that taught you a little bit about not only what's damaging the planet in terms of
Mm.
fashion, but also what you can do, especially as a working designer. So there's different ways you can make patterns so it uses up all the fabric. You can make sure
Ah,
that you're
right.
using fabric that's already pre-made from old recycled garments. So there's so many different things you can do, but I think people just it's I mean it's the same with everything that's causing the environment harm. You kind of just go about your normal day, you think about it, but then you just go, "Oh, I can't really do much. I'm just one person." But
Yeah.
even if you do something, something small like don't buy new clothes, just go to op shops or get secondhand. You can, or hiring, especially in pageantry, hiring's become huge, and it's so good
Yeah.
because it means a garment's getting multiple uses, especially for balls and different things like that, where you're only using the garment once and maybe throwing it out or
Mm.
just leaving it in your cupboard forever. Repurposing is a huge one too. So I did the Jenkit project, which I got everyone to send in their used jeans
Hmm.
because everyone has about 20 jeans in their cupboard. They're just there. They don't quite fit or they're too low or you just don't wear them. So I said, give them to me, and I repurposed them into bucket hats, and then I sold them,
Oh.
but all the profits went to Variety, the children's charity.
Dig into just like the fast fashion for me. It seems to me to be a problem. It's propagated a lot of the time by social media and particularly influencers. So one of the things that kind of bugs me is when you see all these people doing what is it called, fashion hauls, where they get a whole bunch of, it seems to me, very cheap clothes that they're probably only going to wear once or twice and then chuck out, and it's because some famous influencer talked about it. And it seems like the problem is not just, yes, they're aware of the environmental thing, but the clothes are cheap. They see a famous person spruiking them. So, what can we do about fast fashion in particular?
Yeah, so that's also another real issue is people just think about the environmental issue, but it's actually a humanitarian issue as well with
Mm,
underpaid workers and terrible working environments, particularly children as well. So people don't think about that side either, but really what we need to do is start looking into the brands that have the scientific tags that are supported
hmm
by government, and make sure that also a new thing going around is saying that it's ethically good or
hmm
sustainable. And they're just using it as a catchphrase or like a hook because it's the new thing to be sustainable. But really, you have to
Yeah.
deep dive into that brand and make sure that they actually are doing sustainable practices. So don't just trust someone writing it on their Instagram. Do a deep dive
Mm,
into what they're doing, what their page supports, who their workers are, where their fabric's coming from, all those things before you buy from a label. I know it's hard, but and it's expensive. It is more expensive, but at least you
mm,
know that I don't know, it's just like at least you know that it's going to good and not you're not yeah, adding
yeah.
to the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think from memory, there was a site, and I mentioned this because, as you said, you have to sort of deep dive into a company before you know, because otherwise, there's this whole thing with greenwashing, where they say the right things, but it's doing bad things behind the scenes. But to find that out takes a bit of like investigative journalism almost. And I think
Mhm.
there are a couple of sites, and you guys watching at home, if you know, or Kat, if you know, there was a site that actually did a lot of the heavy lifting for you, and they would give, for example, a brand like Zara a rating. I only mentioned Zara because I think it got like a 0, or like the
Mhm.
worst scoring. Not to throw Zara under the bus, but I don't think they were doing very well in this scoring. Because I think people would like to make ethical and conscious. No one wants to destroy the planet.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. But I think the difficulty for a lot of us is, here in Australia and around the world, things aren't getting cheaper, they're getting more expensive. And so when you got a choice between, I mean, I'll throw this back to you, Kate. Like if you got a fast fashion choice, it's going to set you back $20 versus the, let's say, ethically sourced one or ethically created one that might be double the cost. Do you see, like, what's your solution to that problem? Because very often, as in with a lot of these issues, it's the poorer people who suffer the most. So what's the solution there?
Yeah. For sure. The solution for that would be that you don't need to get everything new. In fact, I go to a lot of op shops, but also if you overindulge in op shops, that's also adding to the problem because then you're just buying way more clothes than you need.
Yeah.
So when you need, say, a pair of clothing, go to the op shop, check. They have amazing brands there. I've gotten designer dresses, like proper designer, even Versace, I've found things like that that you just go, no one even thinks of coming here. Um, Pretty much all my exercise tops, all my blazers, everything is op shop or hand me down from say my mum or family members. But yeah, so and that's also budget. So I've gotten if I've had to do a photo shoot, I've gotten my ball gowns for $7 from the op shop. and then making sure, yeah,
Seven.
and make exactly $7, or things are $2 that are popular
It's cheaper
brands.
than my
Yeah.
socks.
Yeah, exactly. And then not only that, you have to then make sure once it's in your cupboard that you're using that item again, or you're giving it to someone else to use. So it's not just you're not just filling up your house with
Yeah.
op shop clothes and adding to the problem, or getting rid of them straight away, because then that's just
Yeah.
going to landfill as well. Yeah.
Okay. Can you share some of your fave op shops, or is that a closely hidden, closely guarded secret?
Um, Fave op shops. I know there was one close to my uni. I'm so bad with directions. I'm not too sure. I like I like the good Sammys. They're often pretty good. But I mean all around Perth they're quite good. They yeah, they section them off in different areas, and you just have to deep dive into all of them and have a look around and
Okay.
go on a little fashion trip. Instead of going to the shop, go to the op shops with your friends, because they're actually fun and they're a bit different too. If you want to
Yeah.
change up your style and not just be like everyone looking like you're in a uniform, they could have 80s looks, 70s looks, yeah, all different styles.
Yeah. Do they have men's clothes as well?
Yeah, yeah. So they have
Right.
men's, they have kids, they have women's, they have exercise clothes, they have shoes, they have hats, everything.
I'm looking at getting a couple more blazers to add to my collection because some of them are a bit
Yeah.
worn out. And if I go to a pageant, I always have to have a nice suit on. And I don't really want to spend $400 if I can spend $7. I'm not expecting seven, but anything less than $400 would go a long way. Kat, we've covered a lot. We'll go towards a close, but just before we do, is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to? Any
Yeah.
shout outs?
So I'd like to shout out to the directors of the Miss Australia Pageants. So Charlotte and Sophia, they've been so welcoming. All the girls within that, my family that's always supporting me, my boyfriend, my friends that have joined today, they're like from my run club, most of them. And yeah, just anyone that's been supporting me on this journey. It's been so fun, and I'm looking forward to more adventures.
Do your run club friends get pageantry, or do they just think it's miscongeniality? That's the normal one that they get.
Yeah, no, they've loved like hearing about it and learning more. They're so supportive, so it's been good fun.
Good. You can bring them along on the journey. Are any of them going to be able to make it out to the Gold Coast for the pageant? I know it's a long way from Perth to the Goldie.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think my mum and dad will come, so they always
Okay.
support me in those things. I know my boyfriend's doing engineering, so it's a very heavy workload, so he's got to stay here and keep studying. But yeah, no, just those two, and I'm excited to meet everyone else over there.
What kind of engineering is he doing?
Chemical, yeah, chemical
You had, you,
engineering.
you had to think about that
I was
for
like,
first.
don't do that to me.
Don't get it wrong.
Yeah,
No,
literally. No,
I
all the math
ask
problems you have.
because I studied engineering. I did a double degree with engineering at university, engineering and science, and I would generally have 30 to 40 contact hours per week. And it was always a laugh to me, like the art students whining about how hard they have to work, and they get like 10 hours a week. I'm like,
Yeah,
seriously?
but if you go to
Yeah,
WAAPA,
yeah.
it's
Okay.
9 to 5. So that's like not every day.
Right. Okay. I just have
Yeah.
no sympathy for art student whining about how long their contact hours are when here we're engineers doing real, like, I'm not gonna say real work, but we got to be there 40 hours a week, and I'm like, stop,
Yeah.
stop
Yeah,
complaining.
he's working all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right then. Well, let's get to the final 10, and then we'll wrap up. So number one, what is your favorite word?
Favorite word. It's weird, but it's definitely gonna have to be catastrophe.
That sounds like your name, Cat the
Yeah.
Catastrophe,
Yeah,
catastrophic
so
cat.
that's catastrophe. That's the name of my design company that I run, and I just love the word because it's so dramatic. It's like it's a catastrophe, and I just love the drama of the word it brings.
It's not because it suits your life or what's happening to your life on a regular basis, is it? It's controlled
No, I
catastrophe.
yeah, controlled catastrophe. I just like it. I just think it's like using a bad word but empowering it to be a bit fun and dramatic. Yeah.
Well, I've done a lot of these interviews. I don't think anyone has said catastrophe, so that's cool. It's always nice to hear a different word. Number two, what is your least favorite word?
Mm, I don't like no. That's pretty basic. But no just it just means no, you know what I mean? It's not I don't like it. It's very cut off. No.
I've heard that one so many times. It's always from the young women who are driven and they hate hearing no because no, like, why? Why no? No, like, just say yes. Like, no. You have
Yeah,
to learn
exactly.
sometimes to take no as an answer. Number three in life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
Mm. I like passion and passionate people. If you come to me about anything, it could be about any topic, but if you're so passionate about it and you're geeking out about it, I'm going to be excited.
Yeah, passion is contagious. What about what turns you off?
What I don't like? Exclusion. I just don't understand why you'd ever want to make feel someone feel not welcome. Yeah.
What sound or noise do you love?
I like the sound of the kettle clicking off because it's boiled.
Right. Okay. What happens after the boiling? We're doing tea, you said?
Yeah. I get a lovely big cup of tea in my massive cup and I'm very happy.
What just out of interest as not a tea drinker, what flavored tea or what sort of tea are you drinking?
Yeah, I've actually tried the Yorkshire biscuit flavor and it's actually so good. It's weird. It tastes like, you know, when you dunk your biscuit in tea and it
Yeah.
falls in and you're like, ew,
Yes.
it actually tastes like that, but I like it.
I would actually give that a go because when I was over in the
Yeah.
UK, they kept talking. I had never one of the things I'd never heard of Biscoff biscuits, and they were all introducing me to it and say that you have to dunk it, and then as you do, you dunk the biscuit in, and it all falls in. I'm like, well, what was the point of that? So I would, but it tasted nice. It looked disgusting. It looked like puke, but I would. Can you just buy this from the supermarket?
Yeah, literally, I went to Farmer Jack's and it's just on the shelf. So, and I think they also
Oh,
have strawberry jam flavor as well. I haven't tried that one, but I
yeah.
do really like the biscuit. It does taste like a biscuit though, so you definitely have to try it and get back to me. See if you
I'll
like
give,
it.
give that a go. Yeah, I'll give that a go over the strawberry jam. I don't think the idea of drinking strawberry jam I find very appealing.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Okay. I yeah, this is very specific too, but I hate the sound of when a musical theatre actor rips their pants on stage because it means I have to fix them before they go out again in like 5 minutes.
That can't possibly be an example that hasn't happened. You must have experience
Oh,
with this.
oh, way too much. It happens, they do like this split or something, and it's like, and you're just like, oh, great, that I heard that, and the audience heard it, and now I have to fix that before you run out again for your next number. So funny.
Can't you just stitch it stronger or harder or I don't know? Isn't there something like preemptive you can do?
I mean, you try, but when they do full splits in trousers, like they're not stretch pants sometimes, depending on the performance. So you just have to fix it when you're there. So you just like you have double up sometimes just to be like, put these ones on. Oh, it's bad.
Just to give me an idea, how many times roughly has this happened? Was it just one that really scarred you for life, or was it actually ongoing?
It was definitely like every single theatre show, there'd be one guy that 100% ripped his pants. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The girls tend to
Do
be
you ever
better because they're a bit more careful.
do you ever pull the guys aside and go, can we just go a bit less overboard with the splits, or maybe lose a bit of weight or something? I don't know. Do you ever
No,
have that?
no, it's never weight wise. It's always them just hitting that high kick. But no, they've got to do it. I mean, it's our fault. We just got to fix it. They hit an awesome kick, but yeah, it's just funny.
Sounds like there might be a market for tight pants for men that don't tear when you do the splits. I don't know how big a market that would be. That's the first. Okay, number seven. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Okay, I've answered this one before with super strength,
Okay.
but I've changed my mind. I've changed my mind.
Okay.
I think it would be healing because and just everyone. Like if I could just heal animals, people, yeah, it would be awesome. It's like someone's sick and you're just like, well, you're not now. I'd
Hmm,
like that.
okay. What job would you most like to attempt?
Mm. Being a celebrity stylist would be interesting just because they have the platform where you could use them to support sustainable fashion if they're for that as well. So you could show that celebrities can wear sustainable fashion and look fashionable, because most people that wear sustainable fashion in the past think it has to be all frumpy and weirdly shaped,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
doesn't. It doesn't.
One of my good friends actually is a celebrity stylist. She actually dressed like a member of the royal family over in the UK.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
yeah, she does tell kind of cool stories, but I don't know anything about the royal family, so it goes completely
Yeah.
over my head. What job would you not like to attempt?
Hmm. I wouldn't like to be a driving instructor
You have
because
to
I'd be a bit
detail
nervous.
why.
Well, I'd just be a little bit nervous, and I wouldn't want to overreact, but I definitely would. Because they have to
Is
be
it
like so calm in terrible situations, and I'd like other people driving, it makes me nervous. I have to trust the person I'm in the car with, otherwise I get way too nervous. My knuckles will be like gripping.
okay? So have you seen those videos where they have a young woman who's pretending to be a learning driver and she's actually like a professional drifter, and this unsuspecting driving instructor gets in and you're supposed to be doing 20 and she floors it and takes off and is doing these donuts and you see his face and he's screaming and holding on for dear life, and then she tells him, and sometimes they're not really happy, like sometimes they have full on rage because I find those hilarious. So you don't want that happening to you.
No, no thanks. No thanks.
It could make for good
Um,
content on your YouTube channel. You need stuff for your
mm,
YouTube channel. That could make
that is
a good
true.
video. Yeah.
Entertaining,
All
but at
right.
my own cost.
That's the best kind of entertaining, when we laugh at ourselves. Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Hmm. I know what I wouldn't want them to say,
You
which
came
would be
to the
like
wrong place.
downstairs that way. But I guess I'm very much into family history, and I do a lot of research into my ancestors, and I'd love for them, she or him, to say, would you like to meet all your family? Like that you haven't been able to meet. That'd be awesome.
Just out of interest, where did you manage to trace your genealogy back to? Like how far back are we talking?
Um, I've done a lot of research into great grandparents, but I've also got
Hmm.
heaps of articles on the people that were involved in wars. I know I've got a lot of different cultures within my background. So I've got like
Yeah.
German, Chinese, English, Irish. So I just love learning about how they all got here, and yeah, they all
Mm.
have quite, because they were quite larger than life figures, lots of them were in the newspapers, particularly the
Oh.
Chinese ancestors, because they were so harshly criticized within
Oh.
Western Australia at the time. So it was, yeah, it's been interesting learning about it.
Wow, that'd be cool. I never would have guessed Chinese just from looking at you. I mean, the
I
German I
know.
can see.
Mhm.
Tall and blonde, like, yeah, German or Irish, but the Chinese is a bit of a
Mhm.
surprise, but that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Kat. Well, we've ticked over an hour. I think we might leave it there. Thank you so much for coming on, and obviously, best of luck at the pageant. When is the pageant, by the way?
Yeah, so it's in early October. So we kind of go away for a week. So I'll be leaving on the 8th and getting back on the 14th.
Wow. Okay. Well, best of luck. Thanks to everyone for watching, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Bye.